The foods we consume actually build the very neurons that allow us to think. Over time, a good deal of information suggests certain dietary choices can boost our brain function. Many folks frequently ask me about nutrition and the brain. Everyone wants to know what to eat and what to skip for top-notch focus, memory, and overall brain health as we age. Thankfully, we have solid data from quality peer-reviewed studies pointing to specific actions, including certain foods to eat and maybe some to avoid, to enhance how our brain works. Of course, when I talk about the brain, I really mean the whole nervous system. How we move and recall things isn't just about the nerve cells in our head. It involves our spinal cord and the neurons connecting to all our body's organs too. Generally, two main areas of focus improve brain health nutritionally. The first is a broad category of things we eat and avoid, and activities we do or don't do that influence brain health and function. What do I mean by influence? Getting good, regular sleep, staying socially linked, and managing feelings like depression, all these are vital for our overall well-being. And naturally, they affect brain function, though often indirectly. There are a few sleep-related things that directly help brain function and repair, but today, I want to focus less on general health modulators and more on what directly supports brain health. Specifically, how certain foods boost brain function. We'll look at changing our relationship with food, learning to favor the foods that benefit us more than others. Just quickly, I'll touch upon those modulating factors because they are essential. First off, getting quality, ample sleep regularly is the base for all mental and physical health, no doubt about that. I want to make it perfectly clear, if you aren't sleeping well routinely, your brain will struggle. You won't focus or learn well. In fact, research links poor sleep to dementia or making existing dementias worse. So, sort out your sleep. The other key is heart health and exercise. The general advice in the research, which seems well-backed, is aiming for 150 to 180 minutes of cardiovascular exercise weekly. If you also include strength training, that's excellent. But the 150 to 180 minutes weekly of cardio is key for heart fitness. And heart health directly connects to brain health because the brain uses a lot of oxygen, sugar, and other things delivered by the blood. So, if your arteries are clogged and blood flow to any part of the brain is poor, your brain will suffer. Get your cardiovascular health in order. Now that we've covered those two modulating aspects, making sure we know they're there and are hugely important. Let's turn to the elements shown to be vital for directly controlling or mediating neuron function. Neurons are nerve cells in the brain, of course, but there are other cell types that impact function too, most notably the glia. Glia means glue, but even though people once thought these cells just passively held things together, the glia actively participate in neuron metabolism, brain function, and likely in thinking and cognition. So, what directly impacts brain health? And what foods can we eat to support it? Generally, when we discuss neuron and brain function, we focus on fuel fact that neurons use glucose, which is blood sugar, and need quite a bit of it. Sometimes they use ketones, which we'll discuss later, especially for those on low-carb or keto diets. But before we even think about the fuels neurons use, we must cover the components that actually allow those neurons to exist and stay healthy. What makes up those neurons? That brings us to what I believe is the single most important dietary element for brain function, fat. That might surprise you, but aside from the brain's very high water content, much of our brain and the structure of nerve cells, the so-called neurons, comes from fat. This is because nerve cells and other brain cells have an outer layer, sometimes called a double-layered membrane. It's basically two thin sheets acting as a barrier between those cells. That barrier is crucial because how things pass through it regulates the electrical signals of neurons, the way they fire and communicate, allowing you to think, act, and do all the wonderful things those neurons enable. These membranes are built from fats, but not the fat around our belly or other organs. It's not storage fat, it's structural fat. Maintaining the integrity of this structural fat, meaning the health of those neurons, largely depends on the foods we eat. This needs emphasis. What I'm saying is that the foods we eat provide the structural basis, the building blocks of the very neurons that allow us to think over time. And as I mentioned before, the fat making up those neurons and other nerve cells is different from other body fats. So, what kind of fat is it, and what should we eat to support that fat and those neurons? The answer lies in the so-called essential fatty acids and phospholipids. These are practically the same thing, but I want to make the extensive research very clear. Essential fatty acids include the EPA and DHA types. You hear about omega-3 south and omega-6 south. Most people get enough omega-6 south from their diet. Not everyone, but most do. However, most people are not getting sufficient omega-3 south for healthy brain function in the short and long run. I've discussed before the benefits of increasing omega-3 levels to help with depression and lift mood. Indeed, a large body of research now shows that taking 1, 2, or even 3 grams daily of the EPA form of essential fatty acid can positively affect mood and well-being, being as effective as some major antidepressant medications, but without similar side effects. For those already on antidepressants, supplementing with 1 to 3 grams of EPA essential fatty acids might allow for a lower dose of antidepressant to still work effectively. So that's for depression, but just for maintaining normal cognitive function in people who aren't depressed, EPAs and omega-3 south seem to play a very important role. Of course, you can supplement EPAs through various fish oils, either liquid or capsules. Some people, if they don't want to eat fish due to allergies or personal choice, can take krill oil. If not krill oil, they can use algae and other EPA sources. However, I think it's clear that you can get plenty of EPA from the right foods, and surprisingly, those foods don't just offer high EPA levels, but also other brain-benefiting nutrients. So, what foods are high in omega-3 south that we should probably all aim to eat daily? Number 1 is fish. Think mackerel, salmon, herring, oysters, sardines, and anchovies. The heavyweight champion for EPA per serving is caviar. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not eating a lot of fish nor a lot of caviar. I can't recall the last time I had caviar unless it was just sprinkled on a bit of sushi. Personally, I'm not a big fish eater, though I will occasionally. That's one reason why someone might choose to supplement EPAs from another source. But EPAs are also in chia seeds, walnuts, soybeans, and other plant-based foods. You can look these up online and quickly see there are many sources of EPAs. Many of the foods I listed might appeal to you, some might not, or some you might feel neutral about. But it's very clear that eating foods rich in omega-3 south, or supplementing to get above that 1.5 gram mark, ideally up to 2 or even 3 grams per day of EPA, can be very helpful for cognitive function now and later on. Later in this episode, I'll explain how to actually alter your preference for certain foods so you can start to like ones you don't naturally favor, which might be important if you're thinking about mackerel or sardines in making this face, because frankly, those aren't foods I naturally enjoy. But again, I must stress that you don't need fish or animal products to get enough EPAs. You can get them from plants. However, based on quality peer-reviewed research, I truly believe everyone should aim for a minimum level of at least 1.5 grams of EPA daily, one way or another. The wonderful thing about omega-3 south is that they are also thought to help with cardiovascular health. While there's some debate on whether 2, 3, or 6 grams is the perfect amount for heart health, the majority of evidence suggests that having enough omega-3 south in your diet will support cardiovascular well-being. Of course, it's not the only thing people should do for their heart. Aerobic exercise and such are important too, but it does seem to support cardiovascular health, and by doing so, it supports brain health. However, what I'm stressing is the intake of omega-3 south to support the actual cells within the brain that create our cognition, enabling memory, movement, and all the other amazing things the brain does.